just kind of asking if anybody had any mailbag questions or just things they wanted answered that we can discuss really quickly. We did get a couple, so we'll go ahead and answer those now. We'll do this again. And we also have the email, and you guys know all of our socials. If you ever want anything answered or discussed, shoot us a message on social media or email us. We're always more than happy to try to break down some things. So, yeah, I've got a couple. Emmett's got a couple. We'll kind of trade off. We'll all answer. We'll try to wrap that up and then get you guys on your merry way. First one I got was from Connor. Speaking of Connor Muldowney, I'll start with this one. What has your guys' favorite moment this season been? I don't know who wants to start.
It has to be today, right?
Yeah.
For me,
okay.
It has to be today. I think either that or obviously the stat against Maryland. Like, when's the last time Michigan State has made a stat like that? Like, I actually really want to kind of go back. Obviously, like, you remember the Cassius stat against Maryland, but that was like going into halftime. Like, I really want to know like when the last time Michigan State has made a shot like that at the end of the game. Probably not very often. So I would say one of those two moments, and also having kind of like a Iowa 2.0 stare down moment, but for Trey Hellman.
Big Trey Hellman fan over there, I see.
Yeah.
So for me, I would say I also have two moments in mind. I have Senior Day today. Always nice to see a win over Michigan. Additionally, always great to be able to send the seniors out and give them time to kiss the court, not at the last after the game's over. Let them be able to take their moment in front of the full crowd. And obviously, does it help getting to do it in your rival's face? Sure, but is that the reason for the Senior Day? Absolutely not. The reason is to respect the seniors, and Izzo was adamant about he wants the seniors to get their recognition and not have those nerves of having to go out in front of everyone with your parents there at the very beginning of the game. Get recognized after the game, because these players deserve to have you stick around and see them for the recognition. So Senior Day obviously was one of the top, and it's always going to be the top. You can ask me this every single year. Doesn't matter if Michigan State wins 30 games. Doesn't matter if they go undefeated. Doesn't matter if they go 1-30 with their only win being Senior Day. I will always say Senior Day is one of my favorite moments during the Michigan State basketball season. Additionally, the other moment for me would be the Oregon game. Massive comeback when you are celebrating the national champions in the house. Jace Richardson coming out party with 29 points. You do not create storylines like that. Jace Richardson gets his first start with his dad and all of his dad's old teammates in the house, and goes off for 29 points. That is what you write as a story. You don't see that happen in real life, and we saw that happen. So if it wasn't for Senior Day beating Michigan, or the Oregon game would be hands down one of my favorite moments, and I can say confidently it's also a couple of the players on the team's favorite moments. When I was interviewing Shimon Zapala post-game, I had asked him what was the moment that really, like, as a team, is one of those moments you're going to miss the most, and one of those moments that's going through your head as you're about to go and kiss the court. And he mentioned that Oregon game. He's like, we got down nearly 20, and we claw and fight our way back to win. So, obviously, that game resonates a lot with the team, not just because of one of their players being, the son of one of those legends on the 2000s team, just because of how they bonded as a team to scrap back and fight. So I would say the celebration of 2000s national champions against Oregon and Senior Day. What about you, Chris?
My favorite moment was today. Senior Day is always one of my favorite games. In general, awesome. Beating Michigan the way we beat Michigan, this little extracurricular stuff at the end, that all made it a little bit more special. But then to see the championship ceremony and the Senior Day ceremony afterwards, and see coaches bringing the hockey team on, bringing the former players on, bringing Coach D'Antonio and Coach Smith on, having it just kind of represent and be a big moment all together today for MSU athletics and the university as a whole. That was really special to see.
And his mom in the house, don't forget her.
Yep, his mom was there to watch the game. She was there at 98 years old, though. Mrs. Izzo got to watch a banner go up, and then obviously the rest of the Izzos were there. You got to see Lupe with the Senior Day festivities, and then having the baby in her hands afterwards, the little grandbaby, and gotten to see all the players' parents on the court for the seniors. And I know Jackson Kohler's dad was there having a great time as all, and it's a fun day, and it's a fun festivity. Yep, and Trey's mom. Yep. So it's always a fun game, and then to have it with a banner ceremony to beat Michigan down the way we did, it was all a good day. I will say my favorite individual play of the year was the Jace Richardson play from the Oregon game, where I just looked like unstoppable with the little pump fake, little crossover, shook somebody out of his pants, got to the rim, finished, and you just see his dad and Mateen Cleaves in the crowd just smiling ear to ear. Mateen, ragging on Jay Rich, and that play was just insane. That's one of the better plays I've seen an MSU player make in quite some time. So, not counting Corn Carr's craziness that you see daily anymore. So that
Corn
was
Carr's made us numb to dunks.
yeah, exactly.
And the Frankie Fiddler dunk too, right next to Cohen. Like he kind of took a little bit of Cohen's aura and kind of went up a little bit higher than I think maybe some fans can think he can jump.
Yeah. So, but yeah, today was special, and that's probably my favorite moment so far. I'm hoping there's more to come here in the next few weeks. Emmett, you want to hit one of your questions real quick?
Sure. Chef Bobby on Twitter asked, any update on Jace and the ankle? His post-game Instagram made it look like it's okay. Do you want to hit that first, or do you want me to hit that, Chris?
I was going to say, from what he looked like on TikTok, dancing after the game, he looked fine. So the team was having a ball posting some post-game TikToks, and he didn't look too worse for wear. So I think he looks fine. I didn't see any issues cause the concern. I know he had a little bit of a limp for the rest of the game, but I imagine that was just a little kind of a twist and, little ache, I guess, that he had to deal with. But I would imagine with 5 days off for until the next game, he'll be good to go.
I would think relatively the same. He didn't look too hobbled in the locker room when we came in for post-game availability. He was talking about it in good spirits, mentioned that he had talked to the ref and everything was good. So the hope is that he is at 100%. If there's any update and if he's limited, I'll be sure to report it on Friday, probably around 10 a.m. when the injury report comes out, because it comes out about 2 hours prior to tip. So I'll make sure to update that Friday at 10 a.m. Whether if he's on the report or not on the report, I will be sending that tweet out. Additionally, you will probably hear on Tuesday when there is more of a press conference, before the team heads off to Indy. One of the advantages of not playing on Wednesday, this team gets to stay at home a little bit longer. So the team will be doing a press conference Tuesday before heading out. If there's any update on Jace Richardson, I'll be sure to retweet it. I won't be able to cover that press conference, unfortunately, but I will retweet the news when I hear.
I've got another question from actually Connor, and he brought this up to us too. This MSU basketball team is MSU's best team since when? Zach, why don't you start us off on this one?
I think there's two answers to it, and I think there's not a wrong answer, because I think it's just the way you approach it. Is obviously the 2018-2019 team, the run that they went on was absolutely insane. It was a really fun team. Cassius was just doing Cassius things. Obviously, the end result was a Final Four, really close to a national championship appearance. Sadly not there, but something that you're going to always remember. So I would say 2018-2019 is probably the best heading into kind of what I think that they can do in the tournament. Now, the reason why I say that is because obviously we all know 2019-2020. We never got to see the actual tournament happen. I think there was a lot of fans all around the country, probably a lot of Michigan State fans, but rightfully so, was considering this team, I don't want to say the title favorite, but probably right up there with any team in the country. Dayton, MSU, really Kansas at that point. We didn't get to see the run, so obviously we don't know the answer to it, but if you want to really talk about two teams that are getting hot at the right time, you think about that 2020 team and you think about this team right now. So obviously two different teams, but I think you have to go 2018-2019 just because we know exactly what happened in March, and sadly we just never got the opportunity in 2019-2020. Wish we did. It would have been, I think, very fun. I think it would have been special. I think we would have cut down the banners, but unfortunately, because of other things we can't control, we didn't get that, sadly enough.
Yeah, I agree. I also believe 2018-2019, because you have that for sure Final Four run. This team was getting hot at the right time, but they still had to get through. The 2019-2020 team still had to get through the Big Ten tournament, which you're going to be seeing. The reason why I say 2018, 2019 is because you have that experience and leadership. You have Matt McQuaid, who was the getting hot at the right time. Meanwhile, 2019, 2020, the replacing McQuaid was Rocket Watts, and Watts had yet to compete in that one and done in the collegiate level. So I think you could rely, and then you had Kenny Goins. He already was hitting that. I believe Malik Hall would have been the next. Malik Hall or Gabe Brown would have been next off the bench for that run, 2019, 2020. Brown had his big moment against LSU, 2019, but that just adds to my argument of 2018, 2019. So I would argue for the Final Four team because you've already seen them, and you didn't get to see some of the major contributors having that 2019-2020. And that's no hate on Rocket Watts. I loved watching Rocket despite his tumultuous sophomore season and ultimate transfer out. I definitely was a huge Rocket Watts fan, but because you have that senior leadership and experience, I would side with 2018-2019.
Yeah, and that's probably the right answer. I'm still going to say 2020's team because I don't have a doubt in my mind that Cassius Winston was going to get Tom Izzo his national championship in his senior season. MSU was playing so well down the stretch. They had the team playing on all levels. You saw Gabe Brown really coming into his own. Freshman Rocket Watts was having a decent stretch there down the stretch as well. While Josh wasn't necessarily playing as much, Josh Langford was Senior Josh Langford was the leader, and obviously senior Cassius was just something special. I get the 2018-2019 team is a Matt McQuaid 3 away from probably winning a national championship, but it just, unfortunately, I don't think there's a wrong answer between the two, but I've no doubt in my mind the way that team ended, and coincidentally enough, that was the last senior day skirmish with Chris Holtman and Ohio State. But it was the way that game ended and the way we had the team trending. Also the way college basketball was kind of that year in general. There were some good teams that would have been a lot of trouble in the tournament, but I was taking MSU matching up with any of those teams in the country. So I'll say 2020 just to be different, but you can't go wrong with a Final Four that close from being a national champion run. So, that'll be my answer.
All right.
We got a couple more.
Yep. Next question I got is, what is stopping Tom Izzo from getting Coach of the Year for the Big Ten this year?
I'll quick answer because I know we're running a little bit long. I am going to say just some Michigan State bias. Other than that, I think it's been pretty clear cut. I will shout out Dusty May's done an incredible job at Michigan. He's turned that team from the bottom of the Big Ten to, for the better part of this season, being a Big Ten frontrunner and probably a team that should have won the Big Ten championship. Unfortunately, that kind of end of season collapse, I think, kind of disqualifies them a little bit from the way we're picking hairs, but many people forget this Michigan State team was projected by most people to finish 7th or worse in the Big Ten. Not much worse, but 7th, 5th, 6th, right, all the way down to, I see 8th, 9th somewhere. Our first game of the year outside of the Champions Classic, we had the Bowling Green game. That was a big issue. And then we had the Champions Classic where we didn't look very well. Starting this season, there was a lot of questions for this team, and to finish with 5 losses and only 3 losses in conference in the probably the best iteration this Big Ten seen in many years. So it should be Tom Izzo, and that's taking the Spartan colored hat off and putting on just an analytical basketball. There's not other many coaches that are doing what he's doing.
I'll give you a quick answer. Absolutely nothing. If you win the Big Ten by 3 games, if you're saying, Chris, they were projected kind of middle of the pack. If that coach doesn't win the Big Ten, and like you're saying, Chris, you got to give credit to Dusty May. You also have to give credit to Guard over at Wisconsin. He's had a really great year. They've well overperformed of what they expected. But if the coach that took a team in the middle of the path that was projected before the year, win the Big Ten by 3 games, is the most wins in Big Ten history for a conference play at 17, with Purdue last year with the National Player of the Year, and Braden Smith had 17 wins as well. We just tied them. If that coach doesn't win the Coach of the Year, I want to see the voting records for anyone that doesn't vote for him, because you should get yours taken away at that point, in my opinion.
Completely agree, and I agree with Zach. So there should be nothing. You can't win the conference by 3 games. And then your closest competition, yes, Michigan's resurgent this year. I won't debate that. However, they haven't won a game by 2 possessions since January 14th. It's March 9th as we're recording this. The last time they won a game by more than 4 was in January. Additionally, you dropped 3 of your last 4 regular season games, including a nearly 20-point beatdown for your season finale. You choke away any chance you had of the Big Ten title. You can't go and then say that's the coach of the year over the guy who won it by 3 games, who of your transfer class of Fiddler and Zapala got laughed at and was basically said, okay, so they replaced Mady Sissoko with a worse Mady Sissoko. Zapala goes and he's not going to be an all Big Ten player, an all Big Ten defensive player, but he was the depth piece the Spartans needed to help keep them afloat and provide offensive upside. You saw what he could do to Ohio State, 15 points. So you can't say that this guy who made the right moves and goes and wins the conference by 3 games when he's projected to be like 4. I think the best projection I saw might have been a 3rd. And then he goes and wins by 3 games. You can't go and say, yeah, he can't be the coach of the year because of his own success. That's the only thing that would prevent him. He would be a victim of his own success at the end of it. So I do not see a way Izzo loses it, or I'm like, Zach, give me those voting records because I'll replace one of them. I'll be honest, and I'll be transparent. You'll see my all Big Ten tournament team. I will be posting that once the tournament's over.
Yeah, couldn't agree more.
All right, you got one more, or am I going back to back here?
You got the last one.
All right, so this one actually comes from Gun Eric 22. What are they going to do to get Booker's confidence and mojo back? He has not improved throughout the season like everyone hoped, and on defense is a liability.
Zach, you can go first.
This is a hard question because we've all seen moments this year, especially on the trip in Spain. We've all seen moments as well, like North Carolina. We've seen moments that he's hit the big shot. Even, obviously, some people won't specifically remember it, but the 3 against Michigan at Michigan when it kind of settled things down for Michigan State. Booker also made, I can't remember the next game after that, a big 3, Maryland. He made a big 3 against Maryland as well. So there's moments that you see that Xavier Booker can be the player that he is. Now, I think and obviously at this point, probably not some breaking news, but I think he's a lot more of a project than people thought he was coming into Michigan State. I think there was that potential there. I think it's just going to be an off season full of getting that shot back because we've seen him hit the shots in big moments. It just seems like whenever he is engaged, whenever he's playing well, whenever he hits his first or second shot, then he usually plays pretty well. Defensively, I think there's still a ways to go. I think there's times where he does really good. Well, defending the ball, there's been times where he's done good having a block down low. Needs to get more aggressive on the defensive end. Needs to continue to trust himself. And I think that this upcoming year, this junior year, I do think he will be back. I think there's going to be some discussion of will he transfer, stuff like that. That's just kind of the world we live in nowadays, obviously, because you never know what happens. No one does. But I think this upcoming year, his junior year, is going to be a real big factor on what is that transition going to look like. And I think it's about gaining confidence in his shot back, maybe getting him down low a little bit as well. I know he loves shooting a 3, but we've seen him kind of get down a little bit near the block and have been decent at times. So I think it's just really kind of getting that shot back, continuing to make sure he's engaged throughout the game. I think that's kind of where you're at with Booker, and if he can take that next step, he's going to be a very productive player next year.
That is, I was about to say, Chris, you can go next.
Oh, yeah, I was just going to say, for me, to kind of make it a quick answer, I think a lot of Xavier Booker's issues are mental, and I don't want to make it sound like, as a bad thing. I just think he's in his head with how he's playing right now. Some of that is on the kind of the way he was brought in and being as highly touted as he was. Maybe he was a little bit overinflated in some rankings and stuff, and I don't want to mean that as a knock. He's a very talented player, but maybe the hype got just a little bit more than what it really needed to be. But I think he's just got to kind of sit down and kind of just have a quick reset this offseason and kind of get back to basics. I think everything, like you said, Zach, confidence-wise, once a shot starts falling, I think that's going to be big for him. and just being able to be committed to what he's doing on the floor and not kind of be in his head on decision making, and things will fall into place. I do think, and I know some other people had mentioned saying that he was more of a project than your stereotypical 4 or 5 star would be, but it's just going to take time. It's just going to take patience. I know I said it earlier. I think that he would be the first to tell you he envisioned the season going a little bit differently. I know we all did, and that's okay. But that doesn't mean he can't turn out to be a very impactful player in the next year. And I'd like to think with Coach Izzo and with Saudi Washington, who I want to give a big shout out, because there's not going to be as necessarily as much love as I think he deserves. I think he's really turned around a lot with this team. Our bigs specifically, I think he's responsible for a lot of what Jackson Kohler's done this year. And I think more time working with Coach Washington and just kind of getting a reset over the summer, I think he'll be fine. So
yeah, and then for me personally, I think you've saw that all of us are talking about what he can do in the future for junior year. I think that ship has sailed for sophomore year. I do not think you're going to see him more than 5 minutes a game. They're at 5 to 7 minutes, like he's been playing the last 4 or 5 games. You're not gonna see him for more than that unless you have like a first round blowout in the Big Ten tournament or the NCAA tournament. You don't see Booker for more than 5 to 7 minutes. What they do now for his confidence in the 2024-2025 season, those few offensive defensive possessions he's in. On offense, you try to draw him up one of those quick threes like you saw him hit against Michigan. One of those rhythm threes that everyone isolates on, say, Jace, or isolates on Jaden because of how they're pushing it, and you kick it back out to Booker for an easy 3. Obviously, that's a lot easier to say, and it's a lot easier to say than it is to draw up, but with this staff, I have confidence. But you don't really have much more to do than that, because it's not even just offensively getting that confidence and shot back, because this is what Tom Izzo said on March 2nd, so the Wisconsin game. He said after the game, when asked about Xavier Booker and almost a stagnant development, his response was, "I still love Book. I think he will be a great player. It has been difficult. The biggest thing is the sense of urgency for him during practices and games." Now, I've been doing media for a year and a half now, and I have not heard that way to describe a player almost ever. That really, it is not a glowing review from Tom Izzo. I will say that flat out.
mm-hmm.
It sounds like the issue is more of a mental and practice, a lack of engagement, and that's something Booker, personally, I think Xavier Booker needs to look at himself and see. I've mentioned looking at the mirror when talking about Michigan. Additionally, that's a way that the Spartans can look in the mirror, look at themselves, and be the best version of themselves. I have a lot of faith in Booker. I was talking to one of my friends on Twitter earlier, and I have said that when I look at Booker, I still see the freshman that was so excited to make his first start. You need to realize that these players, their time hopefully will come, because there's a reason they're playing at Michigan State. There's a reason Booker was the number 3 overall player in the country. In order to build that confidence, though, you have to have that. You have to want to show the coaches, show the other members of your team that intensity. The reason why Booker was playing so good at the start of the year was that intensity. So I definitely believe that the first step for him regaining confidence is him regaining confidence in himself and having that edge at practice. Now, could the Big Ten tournament being in Indianapolis, his home area, could that help? Sure. Could the Michigan scuffle when he's one of the first players out being engaged in the game, could that help his confidence? Sure, we could see that turnaround. Am I confident in that? Absolutely not. But is that a way that you could see Booker start playing with that edge he had at the beginning of the season? For sure. I haven't given up on Booker, and I don't think Izzo has either. I think Izzo saying that publicly is a mark that you definitely need to have a player starting to bend that corner, especially end of the sophomore season. But at this point, we are talking more about how Booker develops for 2025-2026. Like I said, I think that ship has sailed for 2024-2025. This is no hate on Booker. I just don't think he's more than the number 10 option in the 10-man rotation. He could peak at number 9 depending on if a player is sick or has an off night, but I think Booker is firmly number 10 in that 10-man rotation. I think he's more at danger of losing his spot to Kurt Tang at number 10 than he is at passing, say, Frankie Fiddler on an off night for number 9. This is just based on minutes played. That's no hate towards Frankie.
Well, and this team functions so well as a team, too. You got to think that, I mean, he has a role right now, and if he starts putting together some games where he's on the court and positive things happen in bunches and he strings that together for a couple games, then yeah, you'll see the minutes start to expand. But it's something to look at over the summer and reevaluate whether he stays in East Lansing or maybe the transfer portal is in the cards. But I think he's still got a lot of talent left on the basketball front, so I think he will be A-okay. But
And I'll say this flat out, if Booker ends up going to the portal and goes to, say, Ball State or something, will I tune into a Ball State game if I see them on TV? Absolutely. I love to see when Madi Sissoko had that 21-point, 15-rebound outing a couple days ago. So this is definitely, I'm not hating on Booker. I think he's a very talented player. I've enjoyed getting to see him during media availability in locker rooms.
yeah.
It's just one of those, it's a matter of results and production at this point for Booker.
Yep. So we'll see. I think there's a lot left untapped, but it's unfortunately a lot of sports at this level is mental. So if you can't get out of your own head and out of your own way, then that's going to cause a lot more damage than yips in your shooting stroke or whatever the case may be. So, but I will kind of cut us there. We've been going a little bit long. I do have a question or a couple more questions, but they're not really basketball related, so we'll save those for another time we do this. I want to thank you guys for hopping on, and anybody who's tuned in for still hopefully being here after this long, wonderful debate. But it's been a good episode, and this time of year is always fun, so we're going to try to get as much content out to you guys as we can. Real quickly, before we wrap anything up, do you guys have any last words, anything you need to get out?
No, just excited for this Big Ten tournament. Yes, I know it doesn't necessarily matter. The Spartans have won that. You're never going to take that banner away. But when you love to be able to see the tournament champions in addition to that Big Ten title, I think the Spartans have the talent to do it. They won the Big Ten by 3 games for a reason.
Exactly. And also, just saw on Twitter about 40 minutes ago, there's a picture of Trey and those two Michigan players. Cassius Winston responded to it with 2 fire emojis as well. So let's just end it with their night.
Room post game that Cassius had actually contacted him and thanked him for what he did. So 5 respecting 5 right there.
Yep, absolutely. And the alums liked it. And for those of you into getting all of the Coach Izzo content you can possibly take, sounds like later breaking news. Sounds like Coach Izzo may be on Pardon My Take with Big Cat and the Barstool guys tomorrow, potentially. So might be something to look out for tomorrow. But we appreciate everybody tuning in. Thanks so much for that. Thanks for all your feedback on the mailbag. If you have any other ones, send them to us on social media. Email them to us. We'll add them to the list for the next time we do this. Maybe after the basketball season. Maybe not. We'll see. So we appreciate that. We appreciate all your engagement. Give us a like. Give us a follow on YouTube. That's where most of our stuff, well, all of our stuff pretty much goes. We are on Apple, on Spotify. I apologize. There's some episodes missing. That will be rectified soon. The auto update thing from YouTube and Spotify and Apple is not what I want it to be. I gotta backdate that, but that's where all of our episodes are, and the YouTube is the main priority and avenue. So always give us a follow there, and comments, of course, if you want anything to add. We like to see them and go through them. So we appreciate everybody. Again, congratulations to the basketball team. I just want to give a quick thank you to Jaden, Shimon, and Frankie. I hope you guys had a great senior day, and it was a great day for all of us fans and Spartans alike. So we appreciate everybody tuning in. As always, take care, be safe, and go green.
Go white.